Hello and welcome to this lecture. In this lecture we'll be starting a new project and it is credit card validation. So we'll make use of our classes and object in order to just implement this project. So first of all, what you have to do is open your IDLE and you must get a cell here. So first of all, let's create a new file, which is our script, and save this as credit card validation. And just remember to put the PY extension, and let me just put it at desktop and let's save it. So we'll just start by creating a class, and the class name will be credit class. So in this credit class, as you know, the first function that is to be defined will be the specially defined function, which is known as a constructor. So it is basically a init function, and the first argument that it takes is a self and let's say card number. So this is our card number, which should be entered by the user, and let's just assign this card number to the class variable or a class attribute as a card number. And this card number is basically a local variable that is passed while calling the object of the class. So next thing is we'll just make an object now. So before making an object, what we want to do is we'll just input the user. So before making an object, what we want to do is we want to basically input, that is a credit card number from the user, and I'll say enter your credit card number. And this will be the input or the text that can be given to the user to input the credit card number. So next thing what you can do here is we'll just make a class method over here. So let's make this class method and first give this annotation as in class method. So this method is to set the card. So let's define the set card method, and let's put here self, or you can put anything like a CLS. So let me say CLS over here and card to check. So this is basically a card to check a variable, and this is to return the card to check. So just return this card to check. You can also put self here instead of CLS, it really doesn't matter. So let me put again self here. So the next thing what you can do is, after just getting this card number that is imported by the user, we'll make an object, name as a card. So it should be credit card over here, and let's call this set card number. And this set card method is basically the class method, so we have to just pass here card number. And if you just pass the card number that is inputted by the user to this class method, and it will just return us, that is card to check. So next thing what you can do is we'll just make a company here, that is another method to check the card company. So let's do that again here, that is after this class method, let's go here and I'll just say property. So we have already studied about the property in a couple of lectures, so let me just remind you what the property really is about. So we have already studied about the property in a couple of lectures before, so let me remind you here what this really property is all about. So basically this is to just return a property object. So if you just call this property, and this method will set something that is fget, fset, fdelete and duck, and this basically two are optional, and you should get a getter and setter with this property. That means you just get the credit card number, and second is you set the credit card number. So this is basically a property. So doing this and doing with this annotation is same. So we'll just make use of annotation, and the next is to just define a company method here, and let me say company. So we'll just check the credit card number in order to just set the company of the credit card. So I'll say first company, and company is none at the beginning. So we'll just check now, that is a string. Let me say this is the card that is entered by the user, which is basically a card number. You can see here we have just set here the card number that is inputted by the user, while creating this object, which is basically a card number, is set to this class variable or the class attribute. So we'll make a use of this class attribute to just check the company name. So if that card number basically starts with, so let me say we starts with, we have a very much interesting function in a string, that is start with function, and this basically checks the first character of the string, and if it is 4, if the first character of the string is 4, then the company should be Visa card. So it would be Visa card. So next is to check for the another company. Let me just grab this all over here, because it would be repeatedly used for all of the companies. So if the card number basically starts with, and if this starts with, let me say a character, let me give 50 or 67 or 58 or even a 63, that means what we have here is, we'll just close this down first. Then first of all, this should be as a set here, so let's pass this as a set, and if it is the case, then the company should be Maestro card. So let me just type here Maestro and card. So this is a Maestro card. So let me just grab all of these again, and let me just grab this all. Let's copy this and put it down here, and if the card, that is basically our card number, start with letter 5 or a character 5, in that case we'll just say the company that the card is Maestro or MasterCard, so it should be MasterCard. So this is another card. So let me just go down here again and check for another string, that is for the another card that starts with basically letter 37. That means it must be the company that is of American Express card. So let me say American Express card here. So we'll just write a couple of more here, and we'll just make use of this company function. So let me just write 2 more, and we are good to go here after this. So I'll say if the card that starts with letters, let me say 62, that means it should be the company that is Union Pay, and it is Union Pay card here. And next is the last, I'll say the last one over here. So if, let me say the string, and that starts with letter 7, then it must be case that the company, the card of company is gasoline card. It should be gasoline card. So we're done here. So let me just go over here and put it over here. It should be company. And these are the list of the card that we are known about, that is if it starts with the 4, it must be a Visa card, and if the card number that is entered by the user start with 5, it should be MasterCard. And you can also add a couple of more card companies, or the companies that provide the hosting for the more of card, like JCB card or Discover card. You can add it on your own, but for now we'll just stick to this card only, that is we have a bunch of a card here. So I'll just return now company, and this company should be formatted with this comp. So after getting this company, what you're gonna do is we'll just go down here, that is in this card section where we created the object, and now next thing is to just print the card company. So in order to print the card company, we make use of this object and call the company here. So next thing is we'll just print the card number again, that is, let me say card first, and let me just put here card dot card number, which is basically the attribute of this card, that is credit card class, which is card number. Now we have just done some of the minor tasks, that is getting the user credit card number, and basically setting the company and getting the card number and setting the card number to this class method, and just displaying the company just by checking the credit card number. That is the point which it starts basically, and these are the set of operations that are performed in order to just return the company of a credit card. So next thing is to just validate. So now it's time to validate the credit card. So first of all, we'll just define the check function in order to check the credit card validation, and we'll also check the validate, and we'll also check the validation of a card using the validate function. So first of all, let's make a first check function in order to just check for the validity of the credit card. And this first check function does nothing more than just checking the length of the card and just giving the message if the length is valid or not. So let's make that function over here. So let me just define the function as in first check here. And in this first check, let me just put a self over here. Let me just make it smaller over here. So first thing is to just check the length. So if we say that if the length is between the 13 and 19, that is the card number length, so it should be card number here. And if the length of card is between the 13 and 19, that means we'll just set a message over here, and that message should be first check and it is valid. So valid in terms of length. So your entered credit card number is valid in terms of length. If it is not the case that our length is between the 13 and 19, that means we have to set a message that is first check, and this first check shows that check the credit card number once again, and message also further elaborates that it must be of length 13 to 16 digit long. So this will be the message provided to the user. So we'll just return this message from this function, that is just return this message over here. So first check is to just check the length of a credit card, that is the number that is provided by the user just by inputting over here. So let me just first save this down and show you what is happening here. Let's run this down first, and it is saying enter your credit card number. If I just enter anything, then it could say that it is none type over here because we haven't just get a company over here. The error was because the credit card number that we entered was not valid or was not matching to any of this company, so it returned nothing. So first of all, let me see and make one of these companies. So let me just grab of the sum of the digits that matches up with one of this company. So let's save this down and run it again, and this time we'll just start with the new, that is credit card number, and it is starting with the 7. So if I hit enter over here, then it is saying that is gasoline card. Basically this was a gasoline card as it was starting from 7 for the gasoline card, and the card number was given here, and here was a card number, that is just printing this card number over here by this statement. So next thing is to just check here, that is if the credit card number is valid or not in terms of length. So we have the first check function in order to do that, because we have just defined here first check in order to check the length of a credit card. So I'll just say that is print me down, and the function or a method that is to be called is the first check. So let's call this first check from the object that we created before. So let's call this first, and we're good to go over here. So let me just save this down again and run it, and you could see here again enter the credit card number. If I hit this value, then it would say that gasoline card is the company and your card number is this, and it is basically not valid because it is not within the length, that is 13 or 16 digit long. So this will be the case. So let's go back down again here. Now it's time to just define the validate function, which is basically the heart of this credit card validation program. So let's define that first here. So it should be named as a validate. So before that, we can see over here that we have a properties here as in company, that gives basically the company here, and this is the first check, that is in terms of length. So let's define over here, that is our validate function. Now it's time to validate our credit card. This is basically the time to just implement the heart of our program. We'll make use of some technique to validate card that was usually used by various company earlier before the development of advanced algorithm. So let's start by defining the function, and that function will be the validate, which is the method of our class credit card. So let's say validate the card here, and in this validate we'll just pass here self, which is a default argument or a parameter. So basically here idea will be double, we'll just make a double every second digit from left to right. So basically I'll say here double me every second digit from right to left. So this is basically the case. So let me just first type here sum. So let's go down here and let me say sum, and this sum would be 0 first. So basically we have to return this sum from this validate function after doing some manipulation. So first of all, let me just get this credit card number, which is basically a card number, and let me say self dot card number. This card number is basically the class attribute, and let's just slice this part. So what we have done here is just reversing the credit card number. So let me just go down here and basically create a new file in order to show you what I am doing here. So let me just make over here, that is new .py, and let's save this and run the console. So in this console I want to show you something, that is how this operation is performed. So first of all, let me just grab a variable that would be like, let me say that is a, and let me say abc as a string. So a has a string abc. So let me just do something, that is this operation and -1 over here. So if I just hit enter here, then you could say CBA. So we have reversed using this expression, that is using this slicing part. So what we have done here is we are just saying that this A should be sliced such that it should be start from the beginning, that is from A, and it should end to the end. That means if nothing is given, that means to the end. So it should start from A and end to the last, that is C, and -1 is reverse, basically start from the back. So that means it will just get you CBA. What if I just say here, that is start from 2 and go to the last here. So if I just hit enter, then it would just give me C, because A is positioned for the 0 and B has the index of 1 and C had the index of 2. So we're just getting this 2, and here is nothing, means it will just go till the last, and this is nothing means step. So last one is for the step. So step is empty, means there will be only one index or one step at a time. That means C has been printed away. So this is the concept of slicing. So next thing what you can do here is basically this is the operation. Let me just comment it out here, that is saying this is operation. This operation basically reverse our credit card, reverse our credit card number. So next thing is to just check for this range of the credit card. So let me say for I in range, let me just take all of this range of this length of this credit card number. So credit card number over here. So what we are really interested here is we'll just double every second digit from right to left. So from right to left we have already done here. That means, so we have just converted, that is the credit card, that is right to left, means we have just reversed over here. So now it's time to double every second digit. So we'll do that in here. So what we can do here is we'll check first, that is every second digit. That means if I say I percentage of 2 equal 1, that means it is referring to every digit. So if I just say that is this is the number, credit card number, so first of all this operation will just reverse our credit card number. That means this operation will just make us, that is 4 9 and again 4 and again 9, that is from backward here. And let me just grab a small number so that it would be easy. 9 4 5 6, let me say this, and it is reverse first, that is 6 5 and 4 and 9. So this operation basically reverse our credit card number, and this operation will just take us the second digit. That means it will just leave this one first digit and it will just grab 5 and it will just grab 9 here. So it is same as saying just grab me 5 and 9. So this operation will just grab the second digit, and after that we'll just double it. And in order to double it, what you're gonna do is we'll just take this credit card number, which is basically 5 and 9 in this case, and we'll just multiply it with 2. Just multiply it with 2 in order to double. So we have now doubled every second digit from right to left. Now let's first print this double it, and let me just go over here and let's say double it should be printed, and let's go down back here in order to just call this validate function, and let's make sure that we just call it over here, and this should be print me, that is a card dot validate. So it should be over here validate. So first of all, let's save this and just press F5 to run it, and just provide a credit card number, and you could see that is this numbers pop up over here, which is basically and doubling this value. So that means we have double it, and every value that is doubled are basically the number. So let's go over here again, and these are the number. So that means it will just backward here. That means it will first convert this number into the reverse order. That means it will be 317 by this operation, and next thing is just doubling the every second digit. That means 1 will be 2, 8 will be 16, 3 will be 6, 2 will be 4, and 9 will be 18, as we see here. So let's close this down again. And now it's time to just remove this first. And now what you can do over here is check if the double it length is equal to. That means if I just go over here, and let me just first show you again what I really mean. So just save this first again, and let's go back where we just printed this double it. Let's save this and run it again, and let me just print this number. So if I just here, if you see, that is if we just give the number, there will be the 2-digit number too. That means 16 and 18. So now it's time to just grab this 2-digit number and take sum of this. And second operation is just to grab this 1-digit number and take the sum out of it. So let's do this now here. So first of all, what we'll do is we'll just take a 2-digit number. So in order to take a 2-digit number, what you do is we'll just check for the length of in that is credit card number here. So I'll say if the double it, that is the double it length is equal to, that means if it is digits 2-digit, in that case we have to make use of a list comprehension. So first of all, what we are really interested is in this sum, that is this variable, and in this sum variable we should first add the sum. So let's call this sum, that is inbuilt function of Python, which will basically get a sum of the numbers, and let's make use of this list comprehension. So list comprehension basically consists of 3 things, and first is the operation that should be performed, and second is a loop, and third is a condition. So first of all, I'll just say that is evaluate me and I. So just evaluate I over here for I, that is our loop. So we have now evaluated, which is our function, and basically we'll just make use of the loop now in string, that is double it. So this is basically getting a sum of these numbers, which are basically the length of n2. So we just have seen that is we just get 16 and 18 was the number, which is the double digit number of this double it. So if there is a double digit number in the double it, we'll just make use of this statement in order to get the sum out of it. So what we did here was we make use of this eval function. So let me show you what is the usage of this eval function over here. So first of all, you can just go to this help and just go to this Python docs, or just click F1 over here, and go to this eval function. So basically this eval function will return the value that is the result of an evaluated expression. So in the eval you normally give the expression, and based on that expression eval will just calculate the expression and just return your value, which is an evaluated expression result. So let's go back down here, and next is to just get the sum of the 1-digit number. So if it is not 2-digit number, that means the remaining number will be the 1-digit number. So let's get the sum out of it by this function, or by this just adding to the sum, and that would be double it. So double it should be added. So basically this is for the 1-digit number, and basically this is for the 2-digit number, and getting the sum out of it. So next thing what you can do over here is to just validate the credit card. So in order to validate, we'll just check this sum now, that is the sum variable, and if it is that the percentage of 10, that means if it is divisible by 10, and that means the card will be valid. Just make a response, that is valid card. If it is not divisible by 10, that is the sum, then I'll just make a response again, should be response, and the response should be invalid card. So we are good to go over here. So now next thing what we can do is we'll just make a new function in order to provide the checksum. So basically to provide the checksum, we'll just make use of the property where. So let's go back down here, and it is also in class method. So let's go over here again and define another, that is a checksum method. And this checksum will just take a default argument, that is self, and this should be also property. So provide a annotation over here, that is in property. So in the checksum, what we normally do is we'll just get the last digit of the credit card number. That means we'll just return, that is just formatting this checksum. Let's format this down again. So this checksum should be normally, that is the credit card number. So let me say self.card number. This card number is our class attribute, which is basically the card number that is given by the user. So we'll just grab the last digit of this credit card number, that is by this just -1. So basically this -1, if I just hit here, that is the credit card number is this will be the credit card number, then this checksum will just return us this 3-digit, and if I have this credit card number, it will just return the 4. So it will just return the last digit of our credit card. Now let's call this function 2, that is checksum function, down here. So let's go down over here and just call this checksum. So before validate, we'll just print it before validate. So it should be called with the card object, and let's say checksum. Now it's time to just save this down and see if any error occurs. Let me just save this down first, and let's press F5 over here, and it will say enter the credit card number. Just give the credit card number over here, and it is saying str is object not callable. And you must get the idea over here why it was not callable, because we have just provided over there, that is a function, it should be removed. In the property there should not be callable, so it should not be callable over here. Just save this down and run it again, then it will say into your credit card number. So just give the credit card number over here, and it must say that it is a valid card. So it is not valid in terms of length, but the first check was invalid, but the second check is a valid card. So this valid card was basically calling this validate. So after calling this validate function, you just return the sum, and in terms of that is just checking that sum, that is percentage of 10. That means if it is divisible by 10, then it will just return us it is a valid or not. So we have bunch of a code here, that is credit card number. So let me just check this one over here. Let me just grab this and go back to the console again. So let me just cross this first and run it again and just provide the new credit card number. Then you could see this is an invalid card. It is valid in terms of length, and the checksum was basically the last digit, which is 6 here, and it is invalid card. It is Visa card, because for the Visa card it normally starts with the 4, and our that is credit card number start with the 4. That means it is a Visa card. So this is the way the credit card number can be validated, and it is the one of the way basically, and it is the old way to credit card validation. So this will be the wrap for this video. See you in the next.